Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm sharing something incredibly difficult, something I never thought I'd have to talk about. But I need to. This is the story of how I uncovered my husband's secret life. A secret that shattered our seemingly perfect world. For years, we were the picture of a happy marriage. Picture-perfect vacations, romantic dinners, the Instagram highlight reel of every couple's dream. Looking back at those photos now, it's almost sickeningly sweet, a stark contrast to the reality that was unfolding behind closed doors. But even amidst the laughter and the carefully curated social media posts, a nagging feeling started to creep in. Little things at first. A late-night text message quickly dismissed. A change in his routine I couldn't quite place. The way he seemed distant, lost in his own world. These weren't huge red flags, but tiny seeds of doubt, slowly taking root in my heart. The suspicion gnawed at me. Sleepless nights were filled with replaying conversations, analyzing his behavior, searching for answers. Was I being paranoid? Was my imagination running wild? Or was there something more sinister happening? The more I tried to ignore it, the louder the whispers in my mind became. I couldn't shake this feeling, this unshakable certainty that something was terribly wrong. Eventually, the uncertainty became unbearable. I had to know the truth. I had to investigate. This isn't a judgment, by the way. This is a story of a woman who loved her husband, who believed in her marriage, and who fought for answers. This is a story of a journey, a painful journey, through suspicion, investigation, and ultimately, heartbreaking revelation. But it's also a story of resilience, strength, and learning to rebuild your life after the unthinkable. This is just the beginning. In the next part of this video, I'll share the specific clues that led me down this path, the evidence I uncovered, and the agonizing process of confronting the truth. Prepare yourselves, because what comes next is going to be raw, emotional, and undeniably difficult to watch. Stay tuned. So the facade was cracking. The happy family photos on the mantle were starting to feel staged. It wasn't one thing, but 1,000 tiny insidious little clues that started to unravel everything. And that's what we're diving into now, the evidence. Remember those late nights he claimed were work? Yeah, about that. This isn't just my gut feeling, folks, this is proof. See this? This is a screenshot of his dating profile. Active until 3 a.m. on multiple occasions. A profile I never knew existed. Then there were the inconsistencies. He'd say he was at a business dinner, but his expense reports showed nothing. He'd come home smelling of perfume, a perfume I didn't wear. It was subtle at first, just a hint, but it grew stronger over time. And the texts. Oh, the texts. I found them hidden, deleted, tucked away in the darkest corners of his phone. I know, I shouldn't have looked, but the nagging doubt was driving me insane. These weren't just innocent messages. They were filled with endearments, secret rendezvous, and plans for weekend getaways. His behavior changed too. He became distant, secretive. He'd avoid eye contact. His answers to simple questions were evasive. He used to love our Friday night movie nights. Now he'd find any excuse to skip them. He started working late more often, canceling plans with friends and family, plans we had made together. Remember that weekend trip to the lake he canceled at the last minute? He said work, but I later found a receipt for a fancy hotel in a completely different city. It wasn't just about lies, it was about the blatant disregard for my feelings for our marriage. Each clue, each inconsistency, built upon the last, creating an undeniable mountain of evidence. It was a slow burn, a creeping dread that eventually exploded into a devastating reality. And all of this is just the beginning. So the suspicions were growing. The clues were there, undeniable little cracks in the foundation of our seemingly perfect life. But I needed proof. I needed something concrete, something beyond a gut feeling. That's when the investigation began. It wasn't easy, and honestly it felt a little dirty. It felt like invading his privacy, but the pain of uncertainty was far worse. First, I started small. I checked his phone cautiously when he wasn't around. I know, it's a breach of trust. But the lies had already broken that trust, hadn't they? I looked at his call logs, his text messages, mostly innocuous, but a few numbers kept popping up that I didn't recognize. Then I moved on to social media. His activity wasn't particularly revealing, at least not at first glance. But I started to notice patterns: late-night online sessions, cryptic posts, and interactions with accounts I couldn't identify. I even started tracking his location using the Find My Friends app, something he'd never been particularly worried about me using before now. This led me down a path I wasn't expecting. Following him was intense. Let's just say, I learned about discrete observation techniques I never knew existed. I parked blocks away, watched him from a distance, my heart pounding in my chest. It was nerve-wracking, but I felt I needed to know for sure. I saw him meeting someone, a woman, in a coffee shop downtown. It felt like a punch to the gut, seeing that undeniable evidence playing out before my eyes. Finally, I knew I needed professional help. I consulted with a lawyer first. This was absolutely crucial. They advised me about the legal boundaries and what I could and couldn't do while still protecting myself. I then hired a private investigator. It was a difficult decision, but one that ultimately provided the evidence I desperately needed, all while remaining within the confines of the law. The PI's report provided irrefutable proof, a timeline of events, locations, and interactions that painted a clearer, more devastating picture. I know that some of what I did might seem extreme, and in hindsight, there are things I would have done differently. The whole process was incredibly draining, emotionally exhausting, and full of self-doubt. But the truth is, it provided the clarity I needed to confront what was happening in our marriage. And what came after that? Well, that's a story for the next part of this video. So the investigation was done. I had the proof. The irrefutable, gut-wrenching proof. And now the hardest part. Confronting him. My husband. The man I thought I knew. The man I loved. The man who had built this beautiful, seemingly perfect life with me. Was a liar. My hands were shaking so violently I could barely hold my phone. The photos, the messages, the undeniable evidence. It was all there, staring back at me. I remember the knot in my stomach, the icy grip of fear, and the boiling rage that threatened to consume me. I replayed it all in my head 1,000 times, trying to prepare myself, but nothing could have possibly prepared me for the reality. That was the moment my world shattered. The look on his face, a mixture of shock, guilt, and something else. I don't even know what that something else was. Maybe panic? Defiance? I can't even articulate it now. It was all so overwhelming. My voice, usually so strong and confident, cracked. The words tumbled out, a torrent of emotion, raw and unfiltered. Accusations, heartbreak, questions I knew I might never get answers to. It was a complete emotional meltdown. The silence afterwards was deafening. It was worse than his confession, worse than any anger or denial he could have offered. That silence felt like a confirmation of everything I'd suspected. A confirmation of my worst nightmares. He tried to speak, to explain, to justify. But his words were lost in the storm raging within me. I couldn't hear him. I couldn't process anything he was saying. All I felt was this immense, crushing weight of betrayal. This emptiness. The scene itself was blur. Fragments of anger, tears, accusations. It's hard to even describe. There was a physicality to it too. The way my body trembled, the way my hands clenched. I remember wanting to hit something, to scream, to run away, to do anything but stay in that room, breathing the same air as him. The video doesn't really capture it all. No video can really capture the feeling of your whole world collapsing around you. But the video does show the truth. And knowing the truth, however painful, was the first step. The first painful, agonizing step towards healing. The confrontation wasn't just about him and his actions. It was about me, about my strength, and about my right to know the truth. And that's what matters. It's a moment I will never forget. A moment that changed everything. But it wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of a long, difficult journey. So the confrontation, it was over. The words hung in the air, thick and suffocating, like a physical presence. The truth, raw and brutal, had been laid bare. And then, the aftermath hit me like a tidal wave. It wasn't just the shock, the betrayal, the gut-wrenching pain. It was the overwhelming sense of disorientation. My world, the one I'd built with him, shattered into a million pieces. I felt numb, adrift in a sea of confusion. One minute I was enraged, the next I was sobbing uncontrollably. The cycle repeated endlessly. Sleep became a luxury I couldn't afford. haunted by images and memories that played on repeat in my mind. Telling my family and friends was agonizing. The looks on their faces, the sympathetic whispers, the awkward silences. My parents especially were devastated. They'd always adored him. Seeing their hurt, their betrayal, amplified my own pain tenfold. Some friends rallied around me, offering support and unwavering loyalty. Others, well, some friendships simply couldn't withstand the fallout. The whole thing felt isolating, even with people around me. Everyone had opinions, advice, judgments. It was exhausting trying to navigate it all while wrestling with my own emotions. Initially, there were attempts at reconciliation. He begged, pleaded, promised it would never happen again. I desperately clung to the hope of saving our marriage, of fixing the irreparable. I wanted to believe his words, but the trust was gone. Completely, irrevocably gone. The damage was too deep. Those attempts, fueled by a mixture of hope and desperation, only served to prolong the inevitable. Ultimately, the pain was too much. The constant questioning, the lingering doubt. It was a living hell. We tried counseling, but even the therapist couldn't mend what was broken. The decision to separate wasn't easy. It was the hardest, most heart-wrenching decision I ever made. But it was the only one I could make for my own sanity and well-being. The road ahead was undeniably uncertain, terrifying even, but it was a path I had to walk alone for now. It was my journey towards healing, towards rebuilding my life, and finding myself again. The pieces are still scattered, but I'm picking them up, one by one, day by day. So the aftermath, the raw, gut-wrenching aftermath of discovering my husband's betrayal. But it wasn't just him. There was her. And honestly, facing that reality was a whole other level of pain. I'm not going to name names or show pictures. That's not what this is about. This isn't about shaming her or dragging her through the mud. This is about my experience, my journey. What I can tell you is that she was younger, significantly younger, and from what I pieced together, and believe me, the details were excruciating. She seemed completely unaware of the depth of my husband's deception. He'd painted a picture of a failing marriage, a man trapped in a loveless union, a victim essentially. It was sickening. The manipulative lies he spun to justify his actions, to paint himself as the good guy. It made my stomach churn. Seeing her online, in photos he'd carefully hidden, it wasn't about jealousy. It wasn't the primal rage I'd expected. It was a chilling sense of violation. Like a stranger had invaded not just my marriage, but my sense of self, my sense of trust, my sense of who I thought I knew. It felt surreal, like watching a horror movie unfold in my own life. The impact on me? Devastating. It amplified the feelings of betrayal and confusion tenfold. Now it wasn't just about my husband failing me. It was about the deliberate construction of a double life, woven with lies and deceit involving another person. This wasn't just a lapse in judgment. It was a deliberate, calculated act. The realization that he'd been so skilled at compartmentalizing his life, that he'd maintained two completely separate realities, was terrifying. It deepened my sense of loss. It wasn't just the loss of my husband, it was the loss of the life we'd built together. The life that, in reality, never truly existed. It chipped away at my self-worth. Made me question everything I thought I knew about myself, about love, about commitment. The whole foundation of my world felt cracked, crumbling. This wasn't simply about him. It was about understanding how easily someone could build a world of lies without me ever suspecting a thing. And that realization, honestly, that was the most painful part of all. The weight of that knowledge, that's what I'm still carrying, still processing. But I'm getting there. Slowly but surely. So, where do I go from here? The aftermath, it was a whirlwind. Raw emotion. The kind that leaves you breathless. The kind that makes you question everything you thought you knew. My family, my friends, their support was a lifeline. But even their love couldn't completely fill the gaping hole left by the betrayal. There were days I just wanted to curl up and disappear, to let the pain consume me. But something inside, a stubborn little spark, refused to let me succumb. The initial shock gave way to a strange kind of clarity. Seeing my life shattered forced me to confront things I'd been avoiding. I started therapy, something I'd always brushed aside as unnecessary. And honestly, it was the best decision I ever made. It wasn't about fixing him or our marriage. It was about fixing me, about understanding my own vulnerabilities, my own role in all of this, without blaming myself for his actions. It was about learning to love myself again, to rebuild my self-worth brick by brick. The future? That's still a little blurry. The marriage is over, that much is certain. Divorce is a messy, painful process, but it's also a necessary step towards a new beginning. I'm focusing on my career, on my passions, on things that make me happy, things that have been put on hold for so long. I'm rediscovering myself, finding hobbies I'd forgotten I loved, pursuing goals I'd pushed aside. I'm investing in my personal growth, learning to be happy and fulfilled on my own terms, independently of anyone else. There are days I still feel the sting of the hurt, the betrayal, the anger. But those feelings are no longer all-consuming. They're becoming smaller, less powerful, overshadowed by a growing sense of self-acceptance and resilience. I'm learning to forgive not just him, but myself. Forgiving myself for the pain I allowed myself to endure, for the time I lost believing in a lie. This whole experience has been unbelievably painful, but it's also been incredibly transformative. It's taught me the importance of self-respect, of setting boundaries, of knowing my worth. It's shown me the strength I never knew I possessed, the resilience I've been able to tap into. It's also shown me the incredible power of support from loved ones, and the importance of professional help in navigating such a traumatic experience. I'm not saying I'm completely over it, but I'm moving forward stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever to build a life filled with happiness, authenticity, and genuine love, on my own terms. This isn't just a story of heartbreak, it's a story of survival, of healing, and of self-discovery. And that's a story worth sharing. So here I am, at the end of a journey no one ever wants to take. A journey filled with heartbreak, betrayal, and a gut-wrenching amount of uncertainty. But you know what? I'm still here. I'm standing, breathing, and even, dare I say it, healing. This wasn't easy. There were days I felt like I'd shatter into a million pieces. Days where the pain was so overwhelming I could barely function. But through it all, I discovered something incredibly powerful within myself. A resilience I never knew I possessed. This experience, as brutal as it was, showed me the incredible strength I have. It pushed me to my limits, yes, but it also forced me to confront my own vulnerabilities, to rebuild my sense of self-worth from the ground up. And believe me, that rebuilding process is messy. It's full of ups and downs, but it's also incredibly empowering. I'm learning to trust my instincts, to value my own needs, and to build a life that is authentically mine. It hasn't been a solo journey either. The love and support I've received from family, friends, and even some of you amazing people who've reached out. It's been a lifeline. Knowing I'm not alone, that others have been through similar struggles, has given me hope. And that hope, that's what I want to leave you with today. If you're going through something similar, please know you are not alone. There is hope for healing. There is strength to be found in the depths of despair. And there is incredible resilience waiting to be unlocked within you. Don't be afraid to reach out for help, to lean on your support system, and to allow yourself the time and space to grieve, to heal, and to rebuild. This experience has changed me, yes, but it hasn't broken me. It's made me stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever before to live a life filled with authenticity, joy, and unwavering self-love. And to all of you who have watched this journey unfold, thank you. Your support has meant the world to me. If my story has resonated with you, if it's given you hope or strength, please share it. Let's break the silence surrounding infidelity and create a community of support and understanding. Subscribe to my channel for more updates. Leave a comment below to share your thoughts or experiences. And don't hesitate to share this video with anyone who might need to hear this message of hope and resilience. You are stronger than you think. Remember that.